Welcome to Customer Service Academy Radio with author and customer experience expert Tony Johnson. Tony will share his vision for successful customer service, leadership, and business excellence, and speak to some of the most impactful leaders in business today. And now, here's Tony Johnson.
Hello, everybody. Customer Service Academy is on the air. I'm Tony Johnson, your customer experience strategist and trainer. Today's episode coming to you courtesy of Ignite Your Service Training and Consulting and 4XI Global Consulting and Solutions. Truly better together. Folks, as you know, we are always in the middle of the great service comeback. We are finding every way possible to give you all the information you need to win out there on the battlefield every single day. And today, we are inviting Aaron Tighe onto the show. Following his retirement from Premier League professional football at age 22, Aaron worked in the field of business sales and business sales management for 30 years. In 1999, he joined Macquarie Technology Group as a spokesperson for the company's Heartbeat program. And Aaron has been featured in the New York Times bestselling author Joseph Michelli's Customer Magic, The Macquarie Way, and is also the author of a football-focused autobiography called What It Takes. He lives in Western Australia with his wife, Julie, and their two children. And Aaron, welcome to the program. Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks, Tony. Pleasure to be here.
Going to be so much fun. So we always start with the same question. Inquiring minds want to know. We always kick off because everyone's got such a great perspective. The audience loves to hear it. What does a great customer experience mean to you, either as someone who's in business and delivering those experiences, or even as a guest or customer in somebody else's dirt? What does it mean to you, that great customer experience?
Yeah, so for me, it's a good feeling, great customer experience. And it's not just, it's the feeling of the person who receives that great customer service, but it's also the giver of that service. You feel good too if you do that. And there's a little bit of magic as well about even the people who hear about it feel good. So you've got this, neurochemical oxytocin that goes through us, which just gives us that lovely connection and the feel good. And I think it's that we're always trying, if we're always trying to look for that connection. That's what great customer experience feels like to me.
Yeah, it's funny. Great customer experience, chocolate, and love all seem to unlock the same chemicals in the brain, right? It's kind of cool, but you're right. It's that feeling of attachment you start to get with brands or with the people that work for those brands or whatever that something is. So I think you're 100% right. There's something familiar there. You talk about being recognized as best in world for customer experience. What does that take? That's great, because we've heard everyone say best in class, right? But best in market or best in world, that's even kind of plus from that. Can you talk a little bit about what that means?
Sure. So the background to that is in 2020, Macquarie Technology Group got recognized as best in the world in communication services, the World Communications Awards in London in 2020. So you kind of go, well, how do you do that? We were up against 350 global giants of the world, and we've got this Australian business that's taken out this best customer experience. So where did it come from? Some of your listeners, I'm sure, have maybe read or are familiar with Jim Collins' book, Good to Great. And in Good to Great, in that book, you've got kind of what's the vision? What can you be best in the world at? So the business made a conscious decision to go after that. How can we be best in the world at customer experience? And very fortunate to have a founder and a CEO, David Schuhope, who really just got onto customer experience being at the center, and he drove it very hard. Discovered the Net Promoter Score sort of program, and then over a period of years, really strove to get there. Now, how did we get there? Well, first thing was being very open and honest about where we were in every area of the business. So what we call the customer corridor. So whether that's in billing or provisioning or wherever, or sales, or wherever the customer touches, you're asking for that, that feedback. We use Net Promoter Score as the measure. And then you do something about it. So you have the discipline to take the action to improve. So that runs through the business constantly. Everyone's KPI'd on Net Promoter Score. Everyone's focused on providing a good customer experience. However, the magic in it, I think, comes from the storytelling. And what won us this award, it was, we set up a program, it's been running quite a long time now, called the Heartbeat Program. And the Heartbeat Program is just the sharing of stories across the business. We make it very easy for people to do it, Tony. We just go, hey, Tony, just log a story, put who's involved in it. What was the great story? Share it with everybody. Doesn't have to be War and Peace. Just make it simple so we can all understand. And we have a little committee of these very passionate people who sit through and read through these stories together every week across the business. And out of those, we share the good ones all around the country. And what that does is it just gets this, everyone wants to, Tony did that, Aaron did that, maybe I could do that as well. So you get this culture of experience that's flowing through. Anyway, we sent hundreds of stories to this World Communications Awards in 2020, hundreds of them. And they were blown away. There was over 60 judges across the globe said they'd never seen an organization in a communications company with such a focus on customer experience. And we continue to do that every day, right through now. We're always trying to improve as well, which isn't easy. We run at like a +80 net promoter score consistently. So the tough thing is staying there, right? You got to keep trying to improve. But that's the background to it.
That's so interesting, because one of the things you mentioned that's so important there, and in fact, folks, if you didn't hear there was two writer downers in there, if you will, two of them. And the first one is doing something with the data, right? So I have worked with so many large organizations, and they collect data like crazy, and then they do absolutely nothing with it and don't use it to guide decision making. So first of all, boom, that is a huge piece right there that everyone can start actioning on like today. The second is the idea of storytelling. I love the fact that you're sharing those stories. We've communicated that way for thousands of years for a reason, right? Because it's sticky and it's emotional and it really helps. So those are two, folks. If you take nothing else away today, those are crazy good tips for you. The other thing,
Tony, I could
go ahead.
Tony, I was just going to say, I could share just an example, right, for the listeners. This is kind of the level of a story that will just flow through in our business kind of daily. We had a project manager who was on a phone call with a customer, and it was to do with some telecommunication services, and it was getting late at night. She was getting back to her office, and when she got back to the office, the door was locked. She couldn't get into her office, and she'd left the keys inside, and they were her car keys, and that was her wallet. So she's on the call to our project manager, and the project manager goes, you're okay. Don't worry. What do you need? She goes, well, I don't know how I'm going to get home. He goes, well, just stay on this call, and I'll do something. So he keeps her on the call. Meanwhile, orders an Uber for her. So the Uber turns up. He says, I've got an Uber. It's coming for you 2 minutes. Hop in the Uber. It's going to take you home. So the Uber takes her home. He said, now, when you get home, just ring me. Just make sure you're okay. This is a project manager for a telecommunications and a communications technology company. So not only that, when she got home, she rang. She thanked him, for everything. By the way, put that on his own sort of credit card. And then the next day, she received a bottle of wine saying, I hope you can relax after your misfortune yesterday. And I hope you're okay. Now, just that simple story of what he did is incredible. That's a project manager like in a contact center. But that's the level of empowerment. If the people have that and they're looking for it with the antenna up, it can be so powerful.
100% agree. And I think that segues nicely into the next piece, right, which is around listening. We seem to have lost the art of listening. And I don't know if it was the pandemic, I don't know if it's attention span, but we seem to have lost that. Why is active listening so important? And how can you ask the best questions to uncover the customer needs or unexpressed needs, those kind of things? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I would say that we've got so distracted with things. So we're so busy in our lives. It's funny, actually, because we've got technology that's supposed to give us more time, but we actually seem to be getting busier.
Right.
So you have the distractions of your devices, you have distractions of your applications. People tend to be head down a lot, whether in a laptop, phone, whatever. So I think there's that. And I think if we think individually, even as we're just talking now, Tony, the fact that we're listening to each other is there's a comfort to that, and there's a respect to it, and we feel better because someone's listening to us. That's kind of just number one. But to listen, you have to listen intently, and you have to listen with some motivation and some focus on what the people are saying to you, what the words are, what the meaning is behind it. Now, from there, you can ask good questions. Sometimes they're closed questions, very simple questions to get facts, but otherwise very open questions. And you can pull from there really what the customer is maybe requiring, but it gives you that understanding and it gives you a place to go. But the list comes from the listening. You have to listen intently and with focus.
And the thing about listening is sometimes it requires discipline. I always say that everyone knows the rules of listening, right? It's will you have the force of will to execute upon the actual things we all know. My grandma told me at a young age that if you're talking, you're probably not learning anything. And so I always try to keep that close to heart. But there is a discipline to that. And how does a discipline factor, the just being disciplined as a leader, factor into customer service or leadership success, business success? Can you talk a little bit about discipline and how that all fits together to win?
Yeah, sure. I'll tell a quick story on this. We were down at the Institute of Sport doing a program on coaching with their elite swimming. Australia's very good at swimming, wins a lot of
Okay.
medals. Olympics is coming up. So we were down, and I share this story because I think it relates to everybody. They have a vision and a goal. So every 4 years, there's a medal they need to win. So they'll look at what that score is for that medal. And so they've got the vision, they've got the goal, they've got the target. Then they will break down every aspect of what they need to do as a swimmer to achieve that. Diving in, the stroke, the reach for the wall, whatever those components are. And then the discipline is that every day they will try to improve those times on each of those aspects. Now, if we take that into business as individuals or as teams, if we can have that level of discipline where we're just making sure we're heading towards that goal and that target every day, then we're going to succeed in things. We won't meet everything, of course. We might fall short sometimes, but we will certainly be getting there more than we're not. So I think that's the discipline. It's have the focus, the vision, and then have the tactics and the actions that get you there.
Because it comes back to accountability so often, right? Everyone has those great ideas, but are we disciplined enough to hold ourselves and our teams accountable and go back and measure and look at those things? And, with your background in sports, I'm always so taken by how important some type of organized activity is in our formative years, right? I don't care if it's chess club. I was a collegiate bowler. My nieces play basketball and volleyball, and we play tennis. Those kind of competitive sports and learning something like that, I feel like set us up so well to learn about discipline and teamwork and the fact that people count on us.
Well, I think you just reminded me as a kid, I used to kick a ball against the wall, I don't know, thousands of times a day. And that would be just not my left foot, it would be my right foot, it would be both feet. So I think you can learn through sport that by practice and by the discipline of doing something, you improve. And it then puts you in a place of competition where you can win. And I think you grow up with that. I think that's true.
And how can listeners, we've been talking about listening and discipline. It was so telling when one of the things that you mentioned that you talk about was uncovering the golden nuggets, what you don't know in customer negotiation and communication. Those unmet or uncovered needs are always so key because there's so much below the surface like an iceberg. Can you talk a little bit about how our listeners can learn to uncover those gold nuggets?
Yeah, so in that title of the book, What You Already Know and Don't, it's in B2B sales, which is where I operate as a manager these days. You will go in with insights. Customers will be looking for insights. They're looking for learnings. Is there something that they can take from you that will help them in their business and what they're trying to achieve for themselves or their team or their company? And that's okay. But it's what you don't know that's where the nuggets lie. So how do you approach those? We talked about it a little bit earlier. We need to ask good questions. We need to listen intently. For me, the initial questions, how, what type questions, sometimes why, if asked in a little bit of a careful way. But on those questions, it's not necessarily the first answer that comes back. It's where does that answer take you? It's almost like there's a little exercise you can do with a kid. I used to do it with my kids, which was the 5 hows. So how did man get to the moon? Right? And then they'll give you an answer. And then, so you just keep going on the hows. And eventually you'll get to this place. And I feel that's what you don't know. If you can keep digging, you will get to something far deeper than what you initially were answered with.
That is so true. Not scratching the surface, right? There's that old 5 why fishbone diagram they talk about a lot. Toyota made it famous. We talk about it a lot in customer experience. And if you take that standpoint of a 5-year-old child, right? Or, why, how, and if you dig past where most people go, I think you learn so much more simply by, it almost comes back to discipline again, right? Having the force of will to ask the question.
I 100% agree. And I think there's something called high gain questions as well. So certainly in business to business, when you're looking for something more than, oh, well, how many staff have you got, Mr. Customer? You're looking beyond that. You're looking for, well, if you were to add X amount of staff or X amount of resources, what would that mean for the sales department on the road? And what would that mean for profitability and revenue? Or whatever those high gain questions are, that'll give you far more input. And I always feel like you can tell how good the salesperson has done a job by the executive summary that goes out to the customer. If the executive summary is just a template and a cut and paste from something previous, they haven't done a very good job. If the executive summary is absolutely laying out what the customer requires from a business strategy level all the way down through to the individual, now you've done a good job if you're answering, what that customer is looking for.
Fantastic. Well, Aaron, so far this has been absolutely amazing. Great feedback. And folks, if you are enjoying this, and I know that you are, make sure that you head on over, that you put 5 stars down, that you like, you subscribe, you tell your friends, you say something nice to help keep Customer Service Academy one of the top hospitality and customer experience podcasts in the world. So please take the time to do that. Again, this has been fantastic so far. Are you ready, Aaron, for the lightning round?
I'm ready to go.
All right, 5 quick questions, 5 quick thoughts to get to know you just a little bit better beyond the work. What's your favorite hobby?
I play guitar.
Play guitar. What type of guitar? Rock, jazz?
I got acoustic guitar and I've got a nice Telecaster and I've got a Les Paul. And I always wanted to learn to play Johnny B. Good, and I did it when I was a young man, and I've been playing it ever since. That's my party piece.
All right. So what's your favorite brand out there right now that you think is giving the best customer experience, best customer service out there in the market?
I'll give you 2 quick ones, Tony. One is I'm driving a Tesla. Got to say I love it, but there's no customer experience as in you're dealing with someone. Just the product itself is so good. But my favorite customer experience, which is I stayed in a hotel in Italy in a little town called Bernalda, family-run business. And I will never forget, they lined up to greet you as you came in. They made you feel so special over a couple of days that it stayed with me forever. So yeah, that's a Palazzo Margherita in Bernalda, Italy. Never forget it.
So speaking of Italy that has amazing food, what is your favorite food?
Well, it goes without saying it's pizza.
Good for all day parts, right? Pizza's a winner. Are you binge watching anything right now on the Netflix or the Amazon? Anything you're binge watching right now?
I am. I just cannot stop watching. There's a program called Dark Matter on Apple, with Jennifer Connelly and Joel, who's an Australian lad. And my God, I can't stop watching this thing.
We'll be sure to check that out,
Very
folks.
good.
We're always on the lookout for new stuff in the Johnson household. So, folks, be sure to check out Dark Matter, it sounds like. And last question, your favorite vacation spot when you can get away?
There's a little island close to where I live, just 40-minute ferry ride called Rock Nest Island off the coast of Perth here. And it's become pretty famous actually on social media because they have this little creature called a quokka. And we've had people like Matt Damon and Bill Murray and people like that come out and share on socials. And Bill Murray's very funny because Bill Murray said, I found the rock nest monster. So that's one of my favorite spots to go. It's a beautiful island.
That's fantastic. So, Aaron, this has been absolutely wonderful. Great conversation today. How can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more about what you do and the books you've been a part of and those kinds of things? How can they learn more about you and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So if anyone's interested in my football story and becoming a professional footballer, how to do that, there's a book called What It Takes, which is a biography. And that's on all major sort of retailers where you buy books. And also, if you're interested in business-to-business sales, there's a book called What You Already Know and Don't. And once again, that's on all retail outlets. And you can find me, Aaron Tighe, on LinkedIn, or you can go to What You Already Know and Don't on LinkedIn. And also, website is b2bsalesplaybook.com.
And folks, we will put that all in the show notes. You're going to be down there leaving those 5 stars and saying something nice and liking and subscribing anyway. So while you're down there, all the links that he just mentioned will be down in the show notes. But again, Aaron, thank you so much for sharing all this great information today and being here. And thanks for being on the show.
Brilliant talking to you, Tony. And thank you for your work. It's fantastic listening to your podcasts.
Well, thank you. And folks, that is our show. Thanks again to Aaron for being on today. And don't forget, we are still in the middle of the Great Service Comeback. This is where we all have the chance in this evolving market, this shaky market, this don't know what's going to happen tomorrow market, to really compete on customer experience as a point of differentiation rather than getting commoditized or competing just on price. If you want to learn more, you can head on over to igniteyourservice.com/6cannons to check out my latest course and also learn more about how you can start your comeback today. Until next time, I've been Tony Johnson, your customer experience strategist and trainer, reminding you to keep your customers at the center of everything you do, because that's where the most amazing things are possible. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will talk to you next week.
This has been Customer Service Academy Radio with Tony Johnson. Tony is available to speak at your event, meeting, or workshop. Have a powerful customer-focused day.